In this first question, you're going to be graphing a parabola. So you first have to be able to find the vertex, which is an ordered pair. Here is the formula for finding the x-coordinate of that vertex. X is equal to negative b divided by 2a. Your b is always the number in front of your x term. And so since I see a positive 8, the formula actually tells me to take a negative 8. So I plug that in as so, right here. And then divided by 2 times your a is always the number in front of your x squared. If I don't see something in front of my x squared, my a is understood to be a 1. So negative 8 divided by 2 times 1 is 2 gives me an x-coordinate of negative 4. The way you find your y-coordinate is by taking your x and plugging it back into the original function, which I did down here. So notice my y is negative 4 squared plus 8 times negative 4 plus 12. And when I evaluate this, I end up also with a y value of negative 4. And you can punch that part out on your calculator, but I at least need to see this part here where you've plugged it in. Now to plot it, you're going to plot the point. So x is negative 4, y is negative 4, puts that point there. It really doesn't matter if it doesn't specify what other points to use. You could randomly plug in some other x's, but I always find it's easier to find your x-intercept. So up here, I took the original function and I set it equal to 0, and then it factored x plus 6 times x plus 2. I set each factor separately equal to 0, so I find x-intercepts of negative 6 and negative 2. And so notice I plotted those on my x-axis, and then when you draw a parabola, it is a U-shaped curve. With the next question, you do need to make a table. Now, the graph is going to be multiple choice, and I noticed that they cut off here on the right, but I'm showing you letter D there since it is the correct one. But I need to see the table to justify your answer. So x values that I would suggest you plug in are things like negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and you could even do 2 if you needed another point. So you're plugging it into this original function. Keep in mind when I plug in negative 2, anytime a power is negative, that flips your fraction. So my 1 over 3, it flipped over to become 3 over 1. And the minute I do that, notice the power is no longer negative. So 3 over 1 squared gave me 9, which means on the graph, when x is negative 2, I have this point up here at 9. When x is negative 1, again, when I plug that in, that negative power is going to flip my fraction over. 1 over 3 becomes 3 over 1, or simply 3, and 3 to the first is just 3. So I plotted that point. Anytime your power is 0, a base raised to a power of 0 is always 1. So there's that point on my graph. And then the last one I plugged in, when x is 1, 1/3 to the first is just 1/3, and so that point's just really close to the x-axis. You do need to know that these types of exponential graphs have a horizontal asymptote along your x-axis. So notice in that case, it should not appear that the graph crosses over your x-axis. I know sometimes, like for example on this graph, it looks like it touches it. That's just a pitfall of the technology. Technically, it does not touch it. Okay. Question 14 is just a translation. You're taking it from logarithmic form into exponential. And what I say is always start at your base. So in log form, your base is the little subscript. So I always start there, write that down first, and then I'm going to make a counterclockwise circle. 5 becomes your power, so that goes here. And then you say it's equal to whatever is sitting right there, which in that case is the 32. And that's all they're asking you to do there. And then on 15, they're asking you to take the exponential statement and put it in log. So again, I still start with my base. You have to know that anytime they use this base of e, you spell logarithm as ln instead of log. So the minute I saw them use the e, I immediately wrote down ln instead of log. When I'm first doing this, I go ahead and I write the e so that I can show my base. And you're just going left to right. So there's your base of e. The power goes over here by itself, and then equal to 22 puts the 22 there. Now, they're not going to want you to write it like that when you type in your answer. They will want you to write it without showing that base of E, because it's understood as a base of E whenever you spell it as ln.